Hey everybody, this is Paige from Mosaic Moments, and I have another design breakdown for you. And I just realized for the month of August, pretty much every breakdown video is showing a beach layout, which is totally fine. One of them was a kayak one I showed earlier, but the rest of them are going to have beach or coastline. But that's okay. It's August. Maybe you're thinking about the beach. Maybe you're scrapbooking that. Or maybe you're going to the beach a lot and you need some ideas for when you finally sit down and make those pages, which I hope this one inspires you today. This layout shows the corner stripped dies, and I want to talk about what makes it work. And this one has the corner strip dies, and you can see them in each corner, plus I use the corner connector. So I want to talk about choosing the right photos, which every die is going to be a little bit different. You have to consider how much space you have to work with. And these photos, beach photos in general, are going to be fantastic for something like corner strips. So in this case, we have people, but they're in the distance. So somewhere like the beach, you may be with other people and they're walking way ahead of you. You know, some of us like to take our time and take photos and everyone else isn't going to wait around. But you know what? It's okay if they're far away, because later you're like, oh, those photos will look great with my Mosaic Moments pages, right? And what's also cool is this texture. So these photos were taken in the wintertime. This is kind of a typical thing to see in the winter, but if you go in the summer, you might not really see something like this. But the waves come in differently in the wintertime, so it can create some unique things on the beach here. And I have this grass. So this is a great way to show some textures and emphasize people from far away. I love how we have this corner here and there's no people in these other ones, but they get emphasized a lot from being in this one. It's really cool. And then with the corner strips, I don't like cutting in the faces. I did need to cut into a couple of horse bodies here, but my rule is never cut into the face. That'll look the weirdest. But if you need to cut through a person or an animal, do it through somewhere else in their body. So, you know, the horses are going to look slightly elongated, but with the corner connector die though, everything's already spaced, so it won't really elongate the horse. You'll just have a chunk of them missing. But I just wanted to point that out, that it's really important to pay attention to that when using any die. I emphasize this a lot with the 1-inch grid die to make sure you don't cut into faces, because it'll look funny. And you may want to consider where you're cutting into. In this case, it's kind of more in the back. This one was more in the middle. Maybe it would look funnier if I cut right at the head, like it looks like its head is coming out, you know. That's just, you want to make wise choices. You want to pay attention to where you're cutting. Cutting is so important. And again, I paid attention here. I have these pelicans. And in this entire photo, this is the most important part, right? So I'm going to make sure I put it in one of these rectangles. I don't want to cut them in half, right? And what's really cool is I have this boat. It's really far away, but I have this little boat in this picture. So it's just perfect. Here, same thing, I have this boat. And something to pay attention to here is this horizon line where the ocean meets the sky. And I don't want to maybe cut right at that horizon. And this can be the case no matter what photos you're using. So down here, it's the same thing. It might look awkward because what can happen is you have all this water maybe down here and all of a sudden it just looks like sky. And that might look funny. So in this situation, you want to make sure one of your rectangles or whatever die you're using shows this separation of the ocean and the sky. So just be wise. And same thing here. I have these two people. They couldn't quite work fitting in the same space, but I cut where you still see them whole, basically. I don't have them cut in some awkward way. Just take your time when you're playing your photos and pay attention to those things. Just because you're using this die doesn't mean that you're using the right photos for it. I would not use this on a close-up face. That's going to look very funny. So make sure you make wise photo choices. That is something I really care about. And part of the reason why our pages look so good is we take care with cutting. So some other things here. This grid paper is from our all season collection, and so is this one. This is the back of one of our grid papers, and it was just contrasting enough on this kind of peachy, lighter peach paper. And it looks really good with these photos. So something to keep in mind, of course, is making sure your photos contrast the grid paper. And considering I was using the corner strips dies, it was really important for me to make sure that the photos really did contrast, because there's no paper mats to save me if the photo's not quite contrasting enough. So, of course, this was at the beach. There's a lot of blue going on in these photos, and it was perfect. It was just perfect color. And I really love with these corner strips. Can you just see these lines? All these little squares cutting through. It looks so attractive. And so with something like the strips dies or the grid die or the corner strips, you really want to take care and your grid paper color. That's what makes these kind of pages really beautiful, is seeing all those lines cutting through the photographs. And so you want to make sure that we can actually see them, and that if there's not enough contrast, it's not going to be emphasized as well. So again, that's what makes this page look really good. And of course, I have this pink paper, and I placed the pink here to tie the layout together and to have balance. And also a fun thing you can do with corner strips is writing around the edges. If you use a paper that's really simple, that gives you an easy place to journal. And I love my journaling to feel very balanced, so it automatically balanced out my journaling. So this is overall a great layout. Again, careful cutting choices, and also with especially dies like this, make sure you have the right grid paper. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. And let me know if you enjoyed this layout, anything that stands out to you. I love hearing your comments. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.